Hello everybody, welcome to episode 22 of the World of Brickfilms podcast. I'm your host, William of AW Studios, and joining me today is my good friend and co-host, Sean Willis of Sillypenta.
Hello again.
And joining us today is the four monkeys. Well, not literally the four monkeys, but...
two of the four anyway.
Two of the four, yeah.
So this is exciting for us, a couple of podcasting buddies chatting with a couple of podcasting buddies. So
yeah, this is going to be a neat podcast. We're going to be doing a crossover podcast. I even heard it called a flip podcast, but this is going to be on both of our channels. And this should be fun. This is going to be a nice, fun two-way street and see where it goes.
Yeah, they said that Avengers Endgame was the crossover of our generation, but actually this is the real crossover.
Absolutely, absolutely. Plus, wait, I haven't seen Endgame yet, have I, or have I?
No, we haven't seen it. But I did watch Justice League this morning, and it was all right. It was all right.
Yeah,
it wasn't
but
great.
I'm still waiting to see Endgame, though. I do want to see it, but we have to wait until it comes out on Netflix or Prime or something free.
I think Disney is where it goes now.
Disney, okay.
Yeah, we got to get Disney for other reasons.
Yeah. I think the great thing about your podcast is that both of you are Brickfilmers, and so it's real easy for you both to relate, to everything, and it's I think that's extremely helpful when talking to people. Now, with us, I'm the only non-Brickfilmer in the family.
But you're a famous voice actress in Brickfilms.
Yeah, sure. But I'm the only one in our family, literally, who has never done stop motion or a brick film. So I'm more the social media, chatty social guru, and Dave is the,
That's very helpful, though. You know everyone very well in the community.
I guess, yeah. I guess that's helpful on that side. But I just think it's cool for you guys that you both are able to understand and I mean, I certainly feel the pain of you guys because I see it and I know obviously what's involved. But no, I just think that's great that you guys are doing that, and it's fun to listen to you.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like as well for both of us. We've got quite different perspectives because like Penta, he's been brick filming for years, and I've only really been around for the last few years. So I feel like I have a quite decent knowledge of like the past of brick filming, but I'm definitely looking at it from the perspective of someone who has kind of like sort of looking back at it from before my time. Whereas I think Penta is kind of like he's almost like a veteran of brick filming in a lot of ways, so he kind of has that kind of quite different perspective, but at the same time we do agree on a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Well, I think the other thing that's great is that whenever we have a podcast and we can't remember something, we always rely on Sean to make a comment and let us know what we were missing. But now we have him right here, so I'm like, okay, Sean, so what is this? Because he's like our go-to person to remember things that we can't.
Yeah, have both of y'all produced videos that did like the history of brick films?
Well, I did the more sort of documentary style history videos about history of brick filming in the 70s, 80s, and 90s so far.
It was really good.
William did the World of Brick Film. Well, it's the same name as the podcast. World of Brick Films sort of retrospective compilation showing clips from brick films over time.
Yeah, you both did it, and they were both really good videos. You both kind of have a much better grasp on the history of brick filming than we do. Ours kind of comes from YouTube on, and we get recommended good older videos. I know Sean, I think, was it Taco Trouble? Was that the one you recommended to me a while back?
On the last podcast, I think I said.
Yeah, that was a good one. That one was funny. I enjoyed that. And some of those old ones I just really haven't seen a lot of, and it's nice to get tips as to what good old ones to watch. And I know they're on the Brickfilms wiki. You put a lot of stuff there, and it's great. You're a wonderful historian. We appreciate it.
Thank you. I do kind of feel the wiki doubles as a sort of curated list of good brick films from throughout history to watch. And of course, I'm glad you enjoyed Taco Trouble. Be on the lookout for Taco Trouble 2 coming at some point.
And
awesome.
Yeah. Is that what you're making?
Yeah, that's what I'm working on now.
Now, Taco Trouble wasn't by you though, the original one. So you're
no.
taking it another step. Why don't we just transition into that? You've got this set you've posted a few pictures of. That thing's huge.
Yeah.
Wow,
It is huge, yeah.
Is that like one of the big base plates, or like even more than just one base plate?
It's not base plates. It's on a base of a whole bunch of 6x4 plates, which are on pillars of 2x2 bricks, so that I can easily rip out sections of the floor if I need to for getting certain angles.
Oh, that's a great idea. Great idea.
And obviously, it's a great set because your cat was on it, which means it was the chosen set because, a cat doesn't go any place that is not just amazing.
And of course, it's got enough floor space for a cat to sit.
Yeah, and I got a couple of pictures here. I think you have a stained glass window in there. Is that correct? Oh, it's
beautiful.
Gorgeous. Although it looks like, be careful not to get an electrical shock while working on this. You've got a lot of lights, desk lamps, including. Are those? Are you also using brick stuff lights?
Yeah, there's I think 10 brick stuff lights in the set, all around the walls.
Cool. We definitely look forward to that one. I think I'm hoping it comes out this year. What inspired you guys to make a podcast?
Well, I think it was kind of like at the time that I was starting like the podcast. Well, the first thing that I was really doing was the 45 years about Brickfilms, which I did especially for Brickfilm Day in 2018, and for that I was like I wanted to kind of because I felt like for me like 2017, 2018 that was really when I really felt like I'd been part of the community enough to kind of feel like I really sort of belonged there, and I really felt like generally brickfilming was it was in a good place. Like there was a lot of like really great brick films coming out, and at the same time there were like I don't want to say there are a lot of people. There was a little bit of like negativity coming in from some people that they kind of felt like brickfilming was dying. I didn't really feel that myself, and I kind of wanted to kind of like retrospectively look back at like the classic brick films like of the past, and sort of like have that kind of admiration for them, whereas also looking at the future and kind of like what brickfilming means today and like looking sort of forward. And that's kind of what I kind of wanted to do with the podcast, which I think really the main thing that made me want to do it was to showcase the aspect where you're kind of like talking about brick films like critically. And I listened to a couple of podcasts a bit like it. There's the Sardonicast, I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's done by a couple of famous like YouTubers, and they're focusing on like these sort of like art kind of films, and I kind of want to do a similar thing. You're showcasing like the classic old brick films, and you're also kind of discussing relatively recent brick films that didn't necessarily get enough recognition the first time around, and it's just an opportunity to showcase these brick films. And then I think like Penta, I think he helped kind of like work out the idea of perhaps having it sort of guest based as well, and having it be not just a showcase of brick films but also a real kind of like discussion of the community as well with various guests. And I think it kind of is sort of developed from that really.
Yeah, I really like your show. It's one of my two favorite podcasts about brick filming.
Thank you.
And I'll just go back a minute. I agree. I remember when everybody was saying they thought that brickfilm were dying, and I never felt that either. I think what it was is
it's evolving and changing.
Well, evolving. Yeah, a lot of the younger people, because a lot of the brick filmers started very young, and then they went off to college or university, and maybe took up some other things, and a lot of times they'll come back as they get older and start back up again.
Some people like Sam Torgo.
There's always been new people doing it, and of course the adults who continue to do it. So it just maybe the people might change a little bit, but I think it's always stayed the same and even gotten bigger, especially since like the Lego Movie and all that.
Yeah, well, I think that a lot of what I saw, it seemed to me like people were just looking at things and just kind of saying, like, it's not like how they remember it back in, like, 2010 or 2011. And just because it's not the same, that means it must be, like,
dying
it must be
off.
detrimental, you know.
Right.
But so I think it more comes down to whether or not you're willing to just kind of, you know, go with the flow and say, oh, this has changed, but that's okay.
Exactly.
It's just a new time.
Yeah, I mean, look how many times we've seen YouTube change. So many times. But, you know, you just kind of, you get used to it, you get over it, and you work around it and, you know, figure out how to keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I try not to kind of get too much into that. You know, when, like, every time YouTube updates, everyone, like, there's a couple of people that always act like it's the end of brick filming, and I kind of just try and stay away from that and just think it's really not. Because brick filming is, like, I don't know, I think it's got too big to really die, and I don't, whenever anyone says it's dying, really, it's just changing. And I think it's something that's always evolving. I think it has actually evolved a lot since we even started the podcast, actually, yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then plus you have all of these professionals and commission people, and that's not going anywhere. You know, it's doing such great things for brick filming and for companies and for Lego, for the movies. So, I mean, yeah, it's just getting bigger as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, have either of you guys done commissions?
Yeah, well, I've actually done a couple of commissions, because I work at a museum in Cardiff, and I've actually had the opportunity to do some paid commission films for them, sort of advertising what they do and that kind of stuff. And I'm actually currently in the process of doing a live action commission project. But yeah, I've done a couple of stop motion ones as well.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Was the army training in Lego, that was a commission?
Yes, yeah, that was my first like paid Lego commission project.
That looked like a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite... I kind of knew what they wanted me to do, and, like, at first I was kind of thinking, well, yeah, I'm totally going to do it. But, like, I was really kind of, like, unsure how I was going to get across it, because it's like, you're animating... There was 20 figures, and I had to, like, animate them all at once. It sounded like a real nightmare, and, like, the camera movements and stuff, and I really had, like, no idea how I was going to do it. But one of the things I always love to do when I start, like, coming up with, like, the idea of a brick film is I like to give myself, like, challenges, and I know that I'm gonna, like, it's gonna be like a nightmare, but I just kind of think, well, yeah, we'll pass it, we'll pass that bridge when it comes, you know, I'm gonna do it somehow. And like, yeah, I sort of thought big. I was like, I'm gonna do lots of crazy stuff, which is gonna be really complicated, and somehow I kind of managed to work it out as I was sort of going along.
Yeah, there was a shot in there, and I think you were at least. I'm not sure if you're still using a webcam or not. Have you gotten a DSLR? Or are you still doing webcam?
Yeah, I'm still doing webcam. Yeah.
Okay, but there was one shot in there where the camera goes and it just turns real quick. You couldn't have done that with a DSLR.
Yeah, I know.
It was just a really killer shot. It's like someday I want to get a 4K webcam just to see what I can do with it. I love my DSLR for what you can do with your depth of field, but you just can't move it around like a webcam.
Yeah, there's also some shots in the Ant-Man series following figures running, and the camera's very close and moving rapidly along with the figures.
Yeah,
you know, you could do it a webcam.
Yeah, it's kind of like I try and sort of make the most of like the webcam, because I mean, in a lot of ways, you know, I say you could probably do generally, like, you can do better like actual looking shots generally with like a DSLR, but when it comes to like camera movements and that kind of stuff, I like to kind of mimic as much as possible the kind of live action type of camera movements, and I'm not really a fan of like static shots too much. I like to just move the camera around and just do lots of crazy stuff, and yeah, I really enjoy using the webcam, because I do lots of stuff like when it comes to like pans and stuff like that, and tracking shots. I like to actually build like a track out of tile pieces and sort of like just move it around.
Yeah, I think a lot of brick filmers, including us, started with a webcam, and then you have Forrest,
actually didn't start with a
who
webcam.
still uses it.
He uses it.
Yeah, I was going to mention Forrest as well.
For certain shots, and it just works great.
Mm-hmm.
What did you start with?
I started with an old VHS or 8mm camera with firewire, going through a firewire box into a computer. It was a horrible camera. I couldn't turn off the autofocus. I mean, I envy the kids these days that can just use their phone and have stuff that's
great, like a Kosh.
A Kosh.
Yeah.
And he's basically using a phone. It's a iPad, but I mean, geez, I mean, he knows how to work it. So it's like that. One thing I noticed that was it Busker's Opus. That looked like it was a DSLR. It was so crisp and colorful. That's why I had to ask. I wasn't sure if you upgraded because of that film.
No, actually, like every single film I've done pretty much, like since Ant-Man Episode 1. Well, actually, no. Well, yeah, the SAC I did before that. But like, ever since 2016, I've always just continued to use that one webcam. The only difference is that I now have a more powerful computer. So since 2018, I've actually been filming in 1080p rather than 720. So there is a difference there. I think that like the quality, like you can really, it feels really crisp and sharp. And there's a certain kind of like lighting, I think with Busker's Opus in particular. Because I think basically when it comes to the quality of an image, it has almost everything to do with how you light the actual scene, because sometimes you get that kind of grainy kind of webcam kind of look if it's too dark, but then if you add enough light, you really can't tell that much really at all.
Does your webcam handle the reds really good? Because when I was using one, it turned it pink for me.
Actually, yeah, the red actually works quite well. I mean, I do play around a lot with kind of like color intensity and white balance, and with pretty much every shot I do, I like to adjust it quite a lot, the settings, because you kind of have to with webcams. But generally, yeah, I have actually started using for this next film, Ant-Man Episode 6. I've actually started using gels on the lights, and I've been using red quite a bit, and I'd say it is fairly pinkish, but if you have enough red, it does work pretty well, I think.
Cool.
I'm not sure what it is about the color red that it's always the first one to go when video quality starts to get lower. Like YouTube's been getting worse and worse over time, and red often looks bad on YouTube videos now.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, not that I mind pink, though, because I'm rather partial to pink.
I noticed something I got a subscription. It was from a Brickfilmer. It was the one that won actually the contest a few years ago, the BFG Film Festival, the one that the day repeated over and over. I can't think of the name right now.
Okay, Sean, you're up.
I know this film. It's from 2016.
Fixed System.
Yeah. Fixed System by Aaron
Fixed
Fisher.
System. Well, Aaron just released another video recently on YouTube, but it was just the trailer for the video posted on Vimeo. And I'm thinking maybe that's a good way to go, because I hear Vimeo doesn't screw up your video as much as YouTube.
It's true, yeah. Yeah, I definitely found to upload to Vimeo, and I got trouble too out.
And also considering, we're currently have our channel set for kids, so we're not getting any comments anymore, it sucks. I don't even think you can put it in a playlist. That hurts too. So I'm half tempted to start playing that game.
Well, I don't know if you saw the FTC guidelines web page that was going around. The guidelines are kind of interesting in that for something to really qualify as like made for kids, it has to be really explicitly only targeting kids, and it could only possibly be of any interest to kids before they'd consider it, falling under the made for kids category. So unless you're making like learn colors brick films or matching shapes brick films, you've got a pretty decent argument that it's not only made for kids. So I'm pretty sure that most Brickfilmers can set their channels as not made for kids, even though the problem with that is then the related kind of works differently. So it depends which one is going to get you more views, if that's your main concern. But saying your Brickfilmers is made for kids probably means they actually get more views.
I thought it was the Lego that made it qualify or what they thought was made for kids, because if it's Lego, no matter what it is, they're going to consider it made for kids. So that's where I wasn't sure if if it was safe to not label it made for kids or not, because you're using Lego.
That's what everybody was saying. Everybody was saying that before these guidelines were uploaded, and that's how it seemed from the initial guidelines. They released the first statement, which was like the broadest thing ever, where you could basically say every single video ever made is made for kids.
Yeah.
But then they released this more specific one where they actually gave a few examples of the channels that they'd be after.
Yeah.
Or they gave a few examples of what they used to find YouTube initially.
Okay.
And it has to be so incredibly clear cut, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Judging from what I read.
There were some like examples, and they were saying that they're going to kind of like possibly even fine some people like it's like $40,000 or something, for like mislabeling something. But that is kind of an extreme case. I think when they say that, I'm assuming they kind of mean these kind of like nursery rhyme type channels that have like millions of subscribers, and like if they're trying to like set their channel as if it's not for kids and to get ad revenue, then that would be something that would be a breach of kind of the guidelines, I think.
Right. Yeah, I think that's what scared me. It's like it's not worth possibly getting sued that much money, which would completely, break us. So I've just labeled everything for kids, even though I would rather not.
As far as the money goes, that would be based off of how much you actually earned from YouTube. So, people were talking about $40,000 every single time they brought it up, and that was, top level. That was what they said was the maximum that a person could be fined. But, if you're making like, let's say $100 a year or twice a year, well, first of all, they're not going to care because it's so little money. But second, they're not going to try and fine you $40,000 for that.
Yeah.
If they would follow it up, which they wouldn't, they'd be looking for like, $5.
Well, from us, it'd probably be more like 4 cents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except for the comments, I don't have a problem with like that new motorcycle jump thing I did. That can be for kids, whatever. But I don't think, a lot of my galactic smugglers, is really for kids under 13. In one episode, a hand flies through someone's chest or whatever. And I don't know if that's appropriate for someone that's, 7 years old.
Well, definitely check out the guidelines. In fact, I could probably find the link and send it to you.
Oh, that would be great.
Okay, we'll look that up.
Yeah, I guess so
afterwards.
many things have, been changing, and it's just like I haven't even bothered to read them anymore. It's like I've just been playing it, just on the safe side, because to me, better safe than sorry. I don't want to be sued over something that we're really not making any money off of anyway,
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, it's always it's a bit of an unknown at the moment because like it's just something that they only just sort of introduced. But I think it's kind of like, I don't know, the principle of what they're trying to do, I feel they have some good intentions, and I feel like people's initial reaction to it was probably a little bit over exaggerated. Like people were kind of like threatening to leave YouTube because they felt that they were kind of like, it was like a greed type thing. But I don't think it was that at all. I think it's kind of one of those sort of issues where, and I think this is kind of the case with YouTube in general. Like, I think they're such a big company that every single decision they make, they're going to get like a lot of flack for it, I think,
Right.
Well, it's like when we lost our partnership a long time ago, we couldn't even contact them at all, and eventually, I guess, several years, went past, and they let us, get ad revenue again, but and, that was why we started the 4 Monkeys 4 channel, is because they basically screwed over our original channel, our main channel, and so we partnered up with Machinima, which doesn't exist anymore. Although I wish it still existed, because we had that Grand Theft Auto video, and I think it was our probably second most viewed video on the internet. It was approaching 2 million, and then poof, it was gone like Thanos snapped his fingers.
Of course, this is that thing, like you said, YouTube is just going to keep evolving and changing, and we just have to roll with the punches and keep doing, what we can that helps us,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
and being a part of this community helps too, because everybody helps everybody, and and I think that's a great thing.
I think it's like with the community, and I think that's a kind of the aspect that you really need to kind of like always try and keep alive, like the actual community aspect of brickfilming, because I think that when you have that kind of community, regardless of what happens to YouTube or anything like that, I don't think it really has a chance. Like brickfilming never really has a chance to die, because there's always going to be a way that's like, I don't know, if for some bizarre reason YouTube completely just stops, like there'd be another way of releasing those videos. And I mean, you've got to think, like at the very start, like with the brickfilms.com era, like you're looking like almost 20 years ago now, you would literally have to just like download every video, and for the hopes that, I don't know, 2 people will watch it, So really, I think if we can sort of evolve from that, I don't think the brickfilming is going to go anywhere, really.
I agree. And plus, you're never alone. So even if YouTube did go down, we have each other as a community, like one big family, to figure something else out.
And there's other video platforms. It's just
right.
YouTube's the most convenient and easy right now, and most popular. If you release a video, it's probably going to get seen more on YouTube than anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I have had very mixed success from trying other platforms. Like, on one hand, it was because YouTube blocked my David Bowie, Mick Jagger Dancing in the Street music video a couple of years back.
Which is your most popular video.
Yeah, with that I was like, well, in that case, I'm just going to upload it somewhere else. So I uploaded to Vimeo, and but just by chance, like suddenly it gained like 50,000 views overnight. I was like, what the hell? What's going on? So I found out that there was loads of news articles about the video, and it even was starting to trend on Google, like this thing, and eventually it gained over 100,000 views. So I did generally kind of think, well, this could be like, maybe I could sort of just completely forget YouTube and just continue with Vimeo. So I started uploading other stuff. I started uploading like App Man, that kind of stuff. And I very quickly started to realize the kind of harsh reality. Like my latest videos have got like 2-3 views if I'm lucky, and really you don't get that kind of same sort of continued following that you do on YouTube. Like YouTube is very convenient for like continuing to follow someone, and I don't think other platforms quite have that yet.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we've had a Vimeo account for years, but I couldn't tell you the last time I uploaded a video there. I forget. I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Well, you really just have to consider Vimeo to just be a portfolio site, essentially. It's good for linking people to things so that they can watch them in high quality. And, YouTube always looks bad with all its bad videos and the related and weird comments and everything. And bad video quality.
Yeah. Well, I was at a conference recently in which this, I guess, a social media expert for this company said basically you should post everything everywhere and comment and like everything and your own stuff. So I don't know if that's good advice or not, but
I do that on Facebook. I like people like, why do you like your own posts? And apparently it's because it helps it show in other people's timelines. So I think it's helpful to like your own posts. Plus, I went all that trouble to write it. I like my post.
It seems narcissistic, but I think it's just playing to the algorithm.
Really not. Exactly. You just have to play to the say it again?
Algorithm.
Yeah, as far as sharing your brick film, I think that putting it on every platform you can find probably is a good idea. You've nothing to lose, really.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it to YouTube for the first couple of weeks just in case we can try to get some revenue, but yeah, just put it everywhere.
I mean, that's definitely probably a safe thing to do, because you get like cases like, as of recording, Chihuahua, like the thing just happened to him. Like, you don't want to kind of like that's happen. So if you have like a Vimeo and a Daily Motion, just keep putting stuff on there as well. It's something that I kind of need to get into. Like, I try every time I release a brick film, upload to Vimeo as well, and I think I mean, occasionally I do end up gaining like a follower on there, and there's a chance that there are some people that just don't go on YouTube that much who just like happen to go on Vimeo, so you may gain like, I don't know, 20-30 more people that watch your stuff, so
And I like it when people share their things on Twitter. Twitter's my favorite because it's easy to share and retweet, and to me it's really easy to use. Plus, with the hashtags, that makes it go even further. Instagram, which I don't think is as easy to use, you can't share things, seems to be really popular. So whenever I do happen to put something on Instagram, it seems to get more views than it does on YouTube.
Well, no, it's kind of funny, like with Instagram in particular. For some reason, like I just go like mad with all the hashtags. I just put like every single thing I can think of, and I do gain like averagely 30 odds, so maybe even like 40 likes per post, and it's like, and Twitter is great as well for that. The worst, for some reason, is Facebook. I've never really gained a following on there that much as IDW Studios for some reason.
Yeah, Facebook kind of gears towards not letting you grow unless you pay for extra placements and feeds.
Yeah.
Yeah, Facebook's good for contacting people.
Yeah, I like it for keeping in touch with people and
kind of.
On a daily. I mean, because I'm on it all the time, it's just easy to see stories and see things from people, so I feel like I'm connecting more personally with people that way.
Well, it's usually because they don't have a Twitter account. I have to talk to them through Facebook. It's like, okay, I'm going to try Twitter first, and then Facebook if I have to.
I mean, I like them all for their different reasons, so they all, work well for me.
The problem with Facebook is it's very, very difficult to contact somebody you're not friends with. I mean, I guess by design, but it's extremely annoying if you're trying to do it for a video or some, actual purpose.
Yeah, I've done that. I've left a message for somebody that I'm not friends with, and Facebook puts it in some weird place where they usually don't even see the message.
There's no notification or anything.
Exactly.
Well, Twitter was trying to tell me I had to use my phone to send messages to people, direct messages to people that I'm not, like, they don't follow me.
Well, you can't send a direct message to anybody that's not following you. That's for your own protection.
Yeah,
so, I mean, I respect that.
Yeah, but you can choose to have it open, though.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
I have my account open, basically because I've gone and tried to contact all sorts of people for various history projects and trying to find Brickfilms and everything. I kind of think I really ought to have my DMs open to anybody if they want to contact me for any reason at all.
Just don't click on any links, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I didn't. I guess I don't really think about doing that. Okay, everybody, anybody can contact Sean.
I feel it's only fair considering I'm always trying to contact people.
Yeah, I guess what I do is, like, if I found that, like, I order a lot of things online, and if I have a problem with any sort of company, I found Twitter is the best platform to actually get customer service, because they respond right away, and then they'll tell me, follow me or I'll follow you so you can send me a direct message. So, if you really do need to get somebody, send them a regular tweet, and then they can say, okay, send me a DM, I'll follow you, whatever.
Yeah. Well, they don't want their dirty laundry aired.
Yeah, because I'm the first one. It's like, oh, you're going to do me wrong? I am going to tell everybody. And then they're like, oh, okay.
Brickfilms on Twitter, it can be amazing to see how far they can go, like with retweets and everything. There can be so much more engagement and views on like just a 5-second clip, like something like Mr. Mingle would upload to Twitter. Or even, remember when Mind Game did the GIF of Hot Fuzz, just a short bit of Hot Fuzz in Lego.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. That was awesome.
And that kind of blew up.
Oh,
it
really
did.
And it got way, way more views than the Cleaners. The problem with Twitter is the video player is terrible.
Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah, but you get the right person to retweet it, and boy, that is it. It just blows up, and it's awesome.
I know it's kind of funny, like, with Twitter, is that, there's always that chance of, like, famous people actually seeing something and responding to you and stuff like that. Like, it happens quite a lot. And for some reason, you get that kind of strange thing of suddenly someone who's, like, mega famous just follows you,
Yeah, or just comments on it like they're just any other person.
Have you had any?
Yeah, I've actually... The voice of Siri follows me on Twitter for some reason.
He follows me, too.
Really?
The voice of what?
Siri.
Siri. Oh, okay. And you've had conversations with back when YouTube used to actually have messaging. You chatted with Donald Faison a little bit.
I don't like to jinx anything though. Yeah, no.
I hope he makes another brick film. I loved his stuff because not many people do facial head replacement for voice or mouths, and it's neat to see it. I don't think I would want to do it because it's too much work, but I liked what he did.
Yeah, he's just so brilliant.
I'm pretty sure he posted a test recently enough, like last year maybe,
okay.
and a bit of a hint towards the Black Stormtrooper 4.
That would be cool. That would be
so
cool.
Brilliant. And then, of course, you have the professional, top-notch voice actor. So you have the perfect brick filming paired up with the perfect voice acting, and it's like, boom, you have magic.
He's got a, I don't know if it's kid or kids and a wife and a show that I think's popular on TV right now.
We watch it. Emergence. We love it.
So his time is probably very little, but I hope he does something else.
Yeah, I can't imagine trying to balance brick filming with all that. I mean, I find it hard to actually sit down and get a shot done, and I don't do anything.
Yeah. My studio is still wrecked from THAC. I haven't touched. I just left it as, so it's just collecting dust in the mess, and I got to get down there and fix it. But I just that was enough for that.
That's why I didn't do THAC this year, because I knew it would put me out of action for the big film for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, I have this thing of I work every weekend, so like actually doing THAC was almost impossible. But I mean, I just did a meme, sort of kind of meme-ish kind of video, and it's kind of funny because it's actually the set that I used was for Outman episode 6, and so as soon as you see that scene, you'll think, oh yeah, that's that THAC video.
So you're working on Atman 6 episode 6?
Yes, yeah. I've actually made a lot of progress actually recently. Like in January, I've probably done about 3 minutes worth of animation.
Awesome.
I mean, I don't want to promise anything because
usually
what I do is I'm really hoping to release it this summer. Like my goal was to kind of like, even when I'm like in university and stuff, in the evenings, like every other night, just like do something that's Atman related, even if it's just like setting up a set or like a couple of seconds animation. It's like some progress, and I think I kind of need that.
Well, I love the voice acting in that. Are you going to have was it Jay back for that, or did that actually end in episode 4?
Oh, Jay Silver, yeah, his kind of arc his
arc's over, but you'll have what, Raphael back?
Yes, yeah.
Jay is so talented. I mean, he's talented in every aspect, but voice acting, wow, yeah, he's amazing.
And what about Mary? Is she going to come back into 6?
Yeah, she has quite a decent role in episode 6. So she plays both Amy Swanson and Agent Anderson, and Agent Anderson's quite a big kind of role within the next episodes.
Yeah,
I
think
my Mary?
That's your Mary.
Oh, I love Mary.
Was it Builder Brothers, or is that there? There's a lot of brother ones.
Yeah.
But I think they've gone off to college and possibly out of college by now. But what's neat is I guess your protagonist, Atman, and Mary's character, they know each other in real life though.
Yeah, it's true.
I think that's neat. They live out in California somewhere.
Yeah, I've been corresponding with Mary for a long time, so she's very special to me. So.
Yeah, she's a wonderful voice actress.
But
yeah, she's really nice. Yeah.
I would suspect she's probably been in more brick films than any other female brick filming actress.
Probably, yeah. She is kind of like, she was like the voice of brick filming for quite a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was in one of ours. I think it was Attack of the Bionicles, maybe more than one, but that's she had a great part in that.
I mean, with Jay, I mean, yeah, his role as Bufferman was just like phenomenal. Like, he's just such a great voice actor. So because he was such an amazing voice actor, I've had to try and find someone who can even sort of possibly like become close to him. And I do have for episode 6, the villain is Mind Game.
Oh, I was going to say Mind Games. It ought to be.
Yeah, I mean, wow, yeah, he's, again, like, I wasn't too, like, sometimes, because, like, I write these scripts, like, I mean, well, the script for this episode I did when 2017, and I always, like, you read through it, like, so many times, and you get to a point where you're not sure about it anymore, and then I hear him read through the lines, and it's just, unbelievable. He's just amazing. Like, yeah.
Yeah, we've had both of them.
It does add a new dimension, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we've had both Zach and Jay, both really talented. And then, of course, I think Keshin is one of my favorite voices. I call him the voice, or the man of 1,000 voices, because he just does so many different accents and voices, and it just blows me away.
Yeah. I mean, there is a lot of like really great voice actors out there, you know.
But I feel like I'm in a similar position with what I'm working on at the moment, because you know the Taco 222 script has been knocking around since 2003, and I've had it up on the wiki. Before I was working on the film, the script was available to read on the wiki, so I've been familiar with it for a long time. So you know, I know everything in it very well, and I'm kind of thinking like, oh, you know, I hope it's good. I hope this is actually going to be funny and all that. But then when I hear the lines with actual voice acting, it's like I'm hearing it all for the first time.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, this is funny. I'm sure of it now.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. That's why I actually think I tried not to voice act for people. It used to be I was like the only female that people could choose from, but it's like now it's like, yeah, you really don't want me to voice act for you. I'm just, you know, I do it for us, you know, and we tailor our lack of voice acting skills to our scripts, so. But still, I mean, happy to help anybody who needs it, if, you know.
I do kind of think that it's kind of funny within the community. You do get almost like famous actors, to some extent. I don't know. I've always thought of Jay Silver being the equivalent of someone like Jack Nicholson or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we needed, I think, a Jar Jar once, and James, spastic Chihuahua, or not spastic, just Chihuahua now. James, he recommended Jay to us, and the video was kind of but the acting was good. But yeah,
it is neat to use different people, or you know what people would consider. Oh my gosh, you know that celebrity. It's but really it's those people that are really the most talented. So.
But it's kind of like, I don't know, like you almost get this kind of almost sense of, because they're so big, you almost kind of think almost feel nervous, like asking them, like, can you do it? And when you say when they say yes, it's like, oh my, you know, oh wow, you know, like when I got Mind Game to voice act for me, I was fanboying so much, I was just like, I can't believe it.
He's so nice though, Zach. I mean, most of these people, they're so nice and down to earth. They don't think of it like we do, you know. Even we fan, you know, over these people.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of interesting. Everybody says the world's a worse place now, you know, than it was 10 years ago. Well, I think the brickfilming community is a better place than it was 10 years ago. I think we're actually acting nicer. We're giving better critical, not criticizing, but better critiques, where it's a more positive critique instead of just kind of a dissy type critique that just kind of makes you not happy about your hobby. And you know, now we're telling people, you know, critiquing them to, you know, and they're where it's a positive way to get, you know, you take the advice and you get better from it instead of just getting depressed from the advice.
Absolutely. I mean,
I think everyone's nicer overall. Yeah,
I feel like with brickfilming, like it's not something I've ever had any interest in. Just like being on my own, I can spend a couple of months without brickfilming at all because of university and stuff like that. But then as soon as I set up my set and I getting ready to animate, I open up Discord and I start chatting with people, and it's just like that is what brickfilming is to me. You know, it's that whole community, and I think if you get rid of that community, it's just like, I don't know, it's not the same. And I think one thing that I always kind of want there to be is the stuff outside of brickfilming that is brickfilming related, like the podcasts and just like, you know, discussions of brick films and, you know, that kind of stuff, because I feel like there is such a huge expansive part of the community that is outside of the actual brickfilming, and I feel that, you know, there should be a sense that you can continue to be active and feel you're part of that community even if you don't really brickfilm as much.
Right. I think voice acting it's helpful for that. Like, I think I said this to Sean the other day. It's like, you know, you have all these different brickfilming websites, but they all offer different advantages for everybody to utilize. And one of the things I really love about Bricks in Motion is your voice acting section, where it helps people who are looking to voice or available to voice for other people, and that to me is a huge help. And I am constantly referring people over there so that they can join in on that and take advantage of helping people or getting help from people who are willing to do that. Voice acting is a huge thing that everybody needs for their brick film, so that's probably one of my favorite aspects.
For the THAC, that I didn't do it last year, but I did it this year, and then 2 years ago, the Frame 100 podcast did a live stream, and I just found that so awesome to be sitting there animating while listening to everybody else animate. Now you're hearing Dragon Frame constantly, click, 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 or delete, 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 and everybody's like, uh-oh, you did, But it was like animating with 5 other animators in the room with you, and it was like I never felt alone. When I was doing all the Oyo videos, I felt alone a lot. If you can get a little bit of a stream of either listening to podcasts, listening to a live stream, which is really really cool, or just chatting on Discord, you don't feel so alone.
I was watching that live stream, the Frame 100 one, I guess started last year, and I did find that I couldn't keep it on because I was getting distracted by it. But every now and then, like every hour or two, I'd just open it and just, kind of check in and say, oh, how's everyone doing? I'm still going, at like 6 o'clock in the morning or something. Mm-hmm. And it definitely felt great to be able to be along with everyone for the ride, essentially.
I mean, I kind of felt like, the first couple of years that I was doing THAC, I don't think I really kind of enjoyed it at all. I found it really stressful, and I didn't want to lose sleep from it, so I kind of I was just determined that I was going to do it all in 5 hours. And it just really wasn't fun at all, and I'd be stressing over stuff. It'd be 3 hours in, and I'm just I haven't really come up with anything, I was kind of in 2018, I think it was the first year that they actually did their live stream. I really didn't feel like I wanted to do it, because I was ill the day before and stuff. And I was oh, I'll give it a go. And then I was watching the stream, and I just kind of felt what, this is actually kind of what it is all about, It's everybody sort of chatting and oh yeah, I'm this far. And it was really sort of encouraging in a lot of ways to see that even though you feel like you're really behind, everybody else is kind of at the same, it's the same place, and
you're all going through the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, even though that year I actually didn't make the deadline, I felt like I actually had experienced that properly for the first time. Yeah.
What's the most amount of time that both of you have used to do your THAC film?
24 hours.
You used 24.
Wow.
Okay, you went...
Wow.
What about you, William?
I've cut it very close. I think it was last year. I used pretty much all the time. I had breaks for dinner and that kind of stuff, but I stayed up until about... I think I stayed up to about 6 o'clock in the morning, and I was kind of you know what, I'm just going to have 30 minutes. And I ended up having 3 hours, and I realized, oh crap, I've overstepped. So I had to kind of rush the last couple hours, and I think I finished about an hour before. So on and off, cutting out the couple hours that I probably spent about 18, 19 hours animating.
Yeah, I think I might do 16 to 18 tops. I start at 7 in the morning, and I'm usually done between 7 and 10 o'clock that night. So I'm a little older than you guys, so I don't need to be doing that to my body. But it is fun to it gives you an excuse to bang out a video real quick in a day, and hopefully it comes out to where you're not embarrassed of it. But you just do the best you can.
But it's also just showing support as well.
Yeah.
Contributing to something like that.
Well, there's a certain vibe when everybody's just, it's like a marathon and you're cheering everybody on,
Yeah, I mean, there is that kind of sense that, because I've been making the top 10 on THAC, let's be honest, it's almost it's really hard because you've got 70 entries or whatever, but it's the only, I think it's the main contest where that kind of thing isn't really the main part of it for a lot of people. A lot of it is just kind of just you're all making brick films, you're all kind of getting involved, it's community, it's that kind of stuff, and everybody being, like on the same page, and I think there's this kind of sense that it doesn't matter if you're like one of these veterans that's been animating since 2000, or if you've only been, this is your first ever THAC, you get that same sense that you're in the same spot. And there's that kind of thing of like, if you manage to actually make it within the 24 hours, you feel you've won.
Yeah.
You're in a game against yourself in a way,
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and back kind of to what we were saying before of brick filming, if it's dying or not. It's not, because my first year that I entered THAC, I put in my worst entry I ever have done, and I cracked the top 10. I'm doing much better entries now, and I'm lucky if I don't know what the top 20 is, because they only do 10, but I'd be hoping I made the top 20. I have no idea. I don't care. But it's like, yeah, it's so much more difficult to even crack that top 10, and I think both you guys have done that in the last 4 or 5 years at least, once or twice, which is really impressive.
Yeah.
I think we both don't know how to respond to that, because it's kind of like, yep, we sure did.
Yeah, it just is a credit to
it's a credit
to your
to
work,
what you're doing. It's just it is so hard to do that. There was one film this year, and I thought this year was credit to Willow Tree. I think one of the best run THACs I've seen. He just basically made sure the information was out there. There was only one thing I was a little surprised at. I was really surprised Suited and Engineered didn't crack the top 10. But that was just because the top 10 was that good this year. It was crazy.
The top 10 this year is solid. It was rock solid.
Oh, man, it was ridiculous.
I think we've said this, Carl, like pretty much every time we do like a contest special or the podcast or anything, but the standard is at such a high point since we've done the podcast, especially, where any of the top 10 in previous years could have been in the top 3.
You are correct.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, did anybody else see the Brickfilm Rewind video that was just released today?
Yes.
On Bricks in Motion? Yeah, I think I looked through that one.
Channel.
Yeah. Everything's beautiful.
Yeah, I was blown away by that. The standard of quality is ridiculous, and there's so many videos in it that are at that level of quality.
And it's not just equipment. The equipment has gotten a lot better over the last 10 to 15 years. I mean, a lot better. But technique is a lot of that, where it's good use of lighting and composing your shots to where your cinematography looks great. It's just I love where brickfilming is going, and that people are able to tell stories in a more beautiful fashion than we ever have.
I mean, as well, like I wasn't necessarily expecting it, but like when I was watching the video and then I see an episode 5's on there, and I was like, wow, I mean, that is just to be kind of like considered, as being like one of the best brick films and stuff. It's just like that's kind of what I was always wanting, and like to get that, it's just, I don't know, it means so much. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do feel like we talk about the standard of quality being high very often, but seeing it in video form like that, it really, I was, even after having talked about it all the time, I was still blown away by it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, and I continue to see like more and more stuff, like because I've been one of the guest judges for the Brickfilmers Guild. Well, by the way, thank you so much for that.
Well, I'm looking forward to your scores.
Thank you.
Oh yeah,
really.
Yeah, that's right. But like, there were some brick films on there that I'd never seen before, and there was a particular one which I'm definitely going to talk into much detail in the future. But like, it had 27 views, and I was just like, blown away by just how good it was. And it's just like, it's got to this point now where these brick films, I don't know, there's some that no one ever talks about, and they're just like absolutely amazing. And it's just like an endless supply of just amazing brick films out there,
Yeah, it's getting harder, more and more difficult to have your own brick films stand out, because everybody's stuff is so good these days.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why like being part of the community, like Discord and that kind of stuff, is such a big thing, because like having that kind of like sense of community and that sort of sense of family is such a huge thing, and there's only one of the biggest chances of actually getting seen.
Yeah. A good way to make sure people actually see your stuff is getting people to be invested in you as a person. And if people are following your trajectory and your work over time, they're interested in seeing what you've improved. And like you were talking about a really good brick film with 27 views. I'd be willing to bet that the creator is never around anywhere.
Yeah.
True, but I also want to mention, because it's, we're thankful, to you and everyone who has been nice enough to help judge our brick filming festival. One of the things we do hear from the judges when they do it is like, wow, I enjoyed this so much because I got to see films that I never would have seen, and they have found things. It's like, wow, now I'm a fan of this person, and it's a great way, because the ones who are judging are really only seeing, a lot of the best ones, and because you do narrow it down a bit.
Actually, I don't narrow it down at all.
Oh, you don't anymore?
I allow the judges to tap out after a little while if it's not going to make the top 10, because we only, if you're not in the top 10, you don't get a score towards your category.
So there's no point watching it.
If you're however you give the scores, I put it in a top 10
but
list.
You used to, and they were like, "Oh, I got to see this film that I've never seen." And
well, they would get to see those anyway. But there's last year I didn't have that as an option, or people, as an official option. And one of the judges was like, it'd have been nice if this was a little bit curated, but I don't like doing that because I don't feel like, I'm afraid I'm going to curate something that shouldn't be curated.
Yeah, I'd be afraid of that as well.
Everybody has different opinions on what they like. So.
Different types of animation styles. Well, maybe I don't like a certain style. Well, why should that penalize you? Let the judges figure out I don't like that style, and if it sucks so much after so many seconds, tap out.
Sometimes I might see something and it starts and I'm kind of like, I can tell this isn't much of a contender. But then the thought enters my mind, like, what if it has an incredible original score or incredible voice acting or, some other category?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, I'm so like looking forward to getting to talk about this film in the showcase, because it's just, I'm just like, I'm in love with this film right now. But like, this film, it's got like 27 views, and it's like, I was quite near the end of the playlist, and I saw it was 15 minutes long. I was thinking, because sometimes it kind of feels like a bit of a, sort of thing of like, oh, okay, it's a 15-minute brick film. And at first, like, the animation at first, like, it didn't seem particularly polished, and I was thinking, I'm not sure. But then I just, like, continued to watch it, and I was like, the voice acting is just amazing. And the set design, the choice of music is just absolutely amazing, and it's like, I had to just continue to watch it, and now it's just like, wow, this is just so good,
when you can do that. Now, sometimes you're going to watch something you can tell right away, it's not. But yeah, when you're surprised with something like that, it's really so worthwhile, and you felt like, wow, that was really something special. Whether it's, like you said, the story or the voice acting, the music, really can make a brick film so extra special. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks like we're probably going to be releasing the results, even though you guys got the deadline coming up real fast. But the results, I'm going to try to coordinate with Brick Film Day to have it released there. Because last year, I don't know if you saw, the Frame 100 podcast it actually released 30 minutes after Frame 100, so it was going on during that, and they were actually monitoring as it was going. And it was like watching live sports news coverage. It was
really cool.
It was so cool. It was fun to watch.
They mentioned everybody, so it was cool. It's like, oh, they mentioned us, and it was neat.
So I'm hoping the Frame 100 guys do it again this year.
They do a great job.
If they can coordinate with. There's no way in the world I would do a live podcast though. I might be a guest maybe, but not do a live podcast for like what we do.
That's the thing. I could never imagine doing a live thing because there's so many technical issues.
Mm-hmm.
I just would not be prepared for that. But like, yeah, good on them if they, because they seem to go pretty well. I think
they're pretty technically savvy too. They've got some gear and equipment, and they know how to. They've definitely got some software that helps them out. Yeah,
totally. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of beyond my understanding. They seem to really know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So again, another like podcast that within the community that people should be watching.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
it's a fun one to watch. I hope they start it up again and on a regular level. I know most of them now are all in college, I think, or working jobs, so it's even more difficult to get the gang together. But
they're all so comfortable, on the camera in front of everybody, and that really shows. And plus, I appreciate the fact that I usually will go in there just to the chat just to say hi for a little bit, and they all make their bed for me. That's more than I do.
I mean, I totally get that as well, though, like, not having the time to do stuff, because as it is now, I mean, I don't really have the same amount of time that I used to. Like, when I started the podcast, like, I could do... I had the set schedule of, like, once every fortnight. Like, now, I could never possibly do that because of, like, university and stuff. And, like, the last episode, like, the episodes with Squid, I released, like, 3 months late. But, like, one thing I do appreciate with the community as well is that because everybody understands things take a lot of time, like brick filming, anything like that. So there is a really nice sort of... people have a lot of patience, and people always seem to just... the hype doesn't go away, and that's always very encouraging. Like, you can have time just to rest and kind of not do stuff, and everybody understands.
You can always just say, well, you guys know how it is, and everyone says, yeah, we do.
Yeah.
I spend countless hours just doing the research because I have to have a crutch. I need to know what I'm trying to talk about and trying to get the stories, figure out the stories that we want our podcast guests. It's like, I want you to tell that story, so I got to try to figure out what's the story I want them to tell, because it's asking questions doesn't always work, but getting people to tell stories,
that's fun.
Yeah.
And the more stories you can get people to tell, they go into automatic mode and they'll tell a story. But if you ask them a question like, what's some advice to give brickfilmers, and unless they've thought about it beforehand, you're going to have like a 5-second pause.
Yeah, like we have
totally.
We have questions, but when somebody actually starts talking and then they start incorporating the answers to the questions we were going to ask, we're like, yes. Like with Jared, the last one, he had so many fun stories. He was just he was so much fun to talk to and listen to. It's fun hearing people's backstories.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I might as well ask, because I haven't really asked much of the kind of like World of Brickfilm podcast kind of questions. How did you kind of like discover brick filming?
My son, because I figured out one night I was watching Robot Chicken, and a little light on my head went off went on or whatever, and I was like, wow, okay, you don't have to use film anymore. That means doing stop motion animation is pretty much free minus a little bit of gear and software. So I was like, okay. So I think it was iStop Motion. I got a demo of it, and I started playing with Hot Wheels cars. And then I expanded maybe to like a toy train set or something like that. And then my son was like, oh yeah, there's this dude named Forest Fire 101. He does these really cool videos with Lego. I was like, all right. And I looked down and was like, okay, I could do stuff like that. And you tell stories. And our son had just a lot of Lego, nothing compared to what we have now, but it's like, okay, now we've got basically the models and everything we need to work with. Let's roll with this, and then we kept finding more and more of the brickfilming community. I mean, at first it was just YouTube, but then I found I guess Bricks in Motion I probably found, and maybe found brickfilms.com at the same time, because I wasn't really aware of the whole thing that had gone on there, but the community just basically moving sites. But then I found that, and then just a few little things here and there, and at a certain point, I wanted to make my own website. But basically, long story short, Forrest inspired me. So that and Robot Chicken. That was probably what 2000. It would have been 2007 where I might have figured out some stop motion. About 2008 or so is when our son's like, "Hey, check this dude out."
Who did the first brick film? You or him?
I think he did. He might have done the first brick film. I'm pretty sure he did. I think it was Commander Ben.
Yeah, that's
it's actually on the Brickfilms wiki. Thank you, Sean.
Oh, right. Nice.
By the
I
way,
was just going to check. Yeah, it is. It's the first one on the list.
You must have spent hours working ours on,
I don't even know how you
Thank
found
you
all
so
this
much.
stuff.
I mean, the most of that's over on the Oya site because I think we produced like 100 Brickfilms for them maybe. I know I named the projects from them. It was just like 1, 2, or Oyo 1, Oyo 2, Oyo 3, and we got up to nearly 130 by the time it was over.
Wow.
Yeah, I couldn't have been happier when you won the community award because we know how much work you put into doing the Brickfilms wiki along with everything else that you do. So it's just so appreciated.
Thank you.
But yeah, both of our kids.
Unfortunately, I haven't had as much time to work on the wiki recently. All my energy for brick filming has been going into the film. It's an actual film.
That's quite all right. I'm that yours Taco Trouble 2 is definitely on my list of what I'm most excited to see this summer. And now that I've watched the entire Appman series, I'm excited about that too. It's a good series.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, it almost, your career almost seems a little, talking to William here, a little bit like mine in a way. You kind of got into stop motion and film not through Lego. In fact, your first, once you got into bricks, it wasn't even Lego then. It was Mega Bloks, which, you if I'm not incorrect, you wrote and produced like 3 10-minute films. And it's impressive.
Yeah, I mean
4 of them, yeah.
Like with the Haunted House, yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean that was kind of like based on a story that I did when I was like 11 or something, and because before I started like making films, I like to write stories, like short stories. Probably since I was about 8. And I remember there's one that I kind of really enjoyed writing, which was kind of like a Narnia. It was like Narnia meets the Mummy, kind of like sort of thing, where it was like this ancient Egyptian priest who was kind of like a sorcerer, and he kind of like comes back to life and takes over this kingdom, stuff like that. And I sort of like rewrote the book and then turned it into a screenplay and then just animated it. And I was just like, hardly any Lego, so it was a lot of it was kind of just like all sorts of just material that I could find, and yeah, it was it was a lot of fun, and it was kind of like really what I kind of wanted to do from like the start, was just like tell these like really like epic kind of like adventure kind of things.
Yeah, those are real good, and you can tell based on those films that you do have a passion for writing. Do you do much creative writing on the side that's for or not for brick films?
Not a lot actually. I've always kind of felt like the writing is like one aspect that I've kind of fallen behind a little bit on, because I do a lot of like non-dialogue sort of films that don't like require any writing and that kind of stuff. And I don't know. I mean, the last like big screenplay I wrote was probably actually 3 years ago for Out in episode 6. But like, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I feel like I'm looking forward to going back into that, because I've learned a lot from university about how to tell a story and like the characters and that kind of stuff, and I kind of feel like I have improved screenwriting over time, but it's not really something it's something I need to kind of like work on more, I think.
Yeah, well,
on the side.
You haven't been doing as much lately, except for Atman, but your first stuff, it was like you were a mad writing genius there. You were cranking them out.
Yeah.
Well, luckily, I mean, our daughter, she has always loved to read, and she also likes to write her own stories, and she's been getting into drawing as well. We got her a tablet for Christmas, and so we're hoping, like, with her learning more of that when she goes to high school, that maybe she'll be able to do her own little movies or whatever. She and I have been big time obsessed over animes lately, so I think that's helped her drawing and writing abilities.
What would you say? Who did you say like your biggest inspirations?
Wow, Keshin, Forrest, Zach, James, kind of the typical Maxime, Studio Epsilon. I wish I was as good as them.
See, we each have different favorites, I think, because Dave has it probably more from a brick filming. He appreciates technical, whereas I see it more from a non-brick filmer, just story. Like, there's been a few that I've watched that have literally made me cry. And I'm like, whoa, I mean, that's just when it has such emotion, like Maxime, of Studio Epsilon. I mean, when you can have a video that has no speaking whatsoever, but speaks to you just through watching the
subtitles and
no, they had no subtitles. Yeah, the sheep. That's it.
Oh, sheep.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, that's good.
It just blew me away. And everybody has a different style, which speaks to different people, and I appreciate, that side, the non-technical side of it.
I mean, I do very much admire Studio Epsilon as, like, one of those technical, like, sort of masters, really, because he's just, like, the stuff that he does is just so, it technically is so amazing, but also storytelling-wise is also great. Yeah. Like, I think, I do definitely regard, I think most of us actually probably do, regard Copyright as being, like, one of the best brick films ever made.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Just on, like, every level.
Yeah. But certainly storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But from
that's
a
really
technical
what will take something
standpoint,
over the edge for, being beloved and remembered.
Yeah. His podcast with us, he told us about that Go Motion or whatever. I think that's what it was called, where basically you're while you take a picture, you're moving either your set or your character, and it creates a blur. And I did that in the motorcycle jump I did recently, where I actually set my Dragon frame for time lapse. I think I did maybe every half second with a little bit of exposure, and I just kept moving the motorcycle so it stayed kind of in frame. It bounced a little bit because it was on the table, but everything in the background and the wheels that were rolling on the ground actually had motion. I was like, you think, stop motion, you're taking a picture and everything's not moving, but you learn things from different people, and that's the technique I learned from him. That's one thing I love about this podcast is you pick up these little cheats and tricks, as Stefan would say, tricking the mind with illusions, and it's awesome.
I like it when people incorporate like real life and real people into their stop motion. I always think that's a really neat effect, kind of like
segue.
Oh yeah, yes, a good segue, like what you did, inspired by Nam Child's.
It was Cut and Run.
Yes, yeah.
And that
by Nam Child's.
Nam Child did the Duel.
Yeah, the Duel. That's it.
Yeah, and that was definitely cool.
Did
you have any issues with one, you shot yourself like or where it was actually you were the character in the movie typing on the computer, so that was just regular video. But when you were doing the stop motion in the house, did you have any difficulties with lighting? Didn't have control of a lot of the light. I think I remember messaging you, and you said you did a lot of that at night.
Well, actually, I think I did all of it during the day.
Okay.
The lighting, for the most part, was not too much of an issue, because in the upstairs it was always quite dark in the old house, and I actually did have a big photography lamp, which I actually used for brick filming, for pretty much all my brick filming up from like 2017 to I think last year, pretty much. And it has a kind of good look, because it has like, it kind of like, from a distance, it has a kind of daylight sort of look to it, so it just seemed like natural light. So there's like these sort of scenes when they're like racing around the stairs and like in the bedrooms. That was all using a photography lamp. Okay. And then with the actual part where he's at the door, where it's nothing but natural light, I was planning to finish filming it the day before, It was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but the sun was sort of it was a really sunny day, and it was shining really bright over that side of the house. And every time there was a cloud, anything like that, it just it ruined the shot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, light flicker like that, it's like you really don't want that. So I decided that I'd get up like extra early that morning. I think I got up like 7 o'clock, and I finished filming by about 10, 11, I think. And luckily it was just because the sun was like on the other side of the like the other side of the house. It's there was like no flicker at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you did a great job with that. I know even Namchild had a video that wasn't the duel, that he did some of that in-house thing. I think it was some flying thing where I know there might have been a couple of frames where it's like he couldn't even color correct it. I think he had to just live with it.
Yeah.
But you did a wonderful job. I haven't had to animate with, I'm in a deep dark dungeon when I normally animate, with so I don't have any real sunlight coming through. But when I was doing like first stop motion, the train track thing, not the train wreck, but the train track one.
The wooden train.
The wooden train, and you did help out on that one technically,
help,
and that's when you realized it wasn't for you. But there was this one point where it went down the hill. The train went down the hill, and I actually had to hold up the train. And I was using a Gold Yeller technique. I used some of my own hair to hold up the train, but I think it fell, and having to rig it. It took a little bit of time, and you can actually see during that one little section where the sunlight shadows just start moving real quick and then slow down again, because then I got past the problem. So it's kind of funny if you watch that. It's like the train gets to this point, and the light's kind of good because I'm taking a shot every 3 seconds, but when I get to the going down the hill, it messed up, and the light, regular sunlight, just moves all over the map. So. You did a great job on your video, and I want to do a video like that around the house. We just have to clean up a bunch.
Yeah, I don't have the patience for that. Being a female, I don't have the patience for doing that. Although credited, there's a lot of female brickfilmers now, and that's a great thing to see. Really talented ones.
Yeah, one of them cracked the top 10 list and is an actress in Appman.
Yeah, so Lainey. Yeah.
Lainey got, I think, 10th place. Congratulations. She might have the title as possibly the one of the best female brickfilmers at the moment. Now that there was one in Australia that was really good, but she does like video games now, so she hasn't filmed in like 8 years.
Oh, I remember. She's also on I think at Disney. She's also a host.
Yeah, she does she's popular, and it's not from brickfilming, but when she was a brickfilmer, I can't remember her name.
Emma Execute.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Oh my gosh, Sean is so good.
She I think it was Achy Bakey or something like that. It was just a beautiful thing, and it's just, I was so sad.
Bakey a Cakey.
Yeah, Bakey a Cakey. I was so sad to see her basically become a gamer. I was like, you make great brick films, but at least Lainey has moved into her slot, and I look forward to seeing more stuff from her. She's quite a good brick filmer.
I think there's another female brick filmer that made the top 10 in the summer contest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was another brick film that was done outside and no light flicker, which again was just amazing.
Do you know the name of the filmer or their brick film?
I can't.
Guata Max Animations.
Oh, that's a female?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Awesome. Yeah. They. I think they're actually one of the people you might be able to vote for community member this year. Oh, there he goes. Actually. Actually, I shouldn't be saying this, but there's a couple of votes for Brickfilmer of the Year. But and they're also here, right?
I just saw it a second ago. I don't know how.
I think it was a write-in.
I don't do the pronunciation because I don't like to butcher people's names, and it just makes me laugh to have Dave do it because it's just fun for it. It's like one of us has to butcher it. Let it be him because he does it in a funny way, and then it makes me laugh.
Well, good luck on the German podcast. Really, that's where I really fall apart. We need to talk to someone that's a Spanish speaker because I could probably swing those words.
Actually, there never have been many brickfilmers from Spain.
Yeah, I think, and I'm not sure if he's from Spain. Oh my gosh, he did like a cop one.
Harry and Billy Brick.
Harry, yeah, isn't he Spanish?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only one I can think of. There might be a few from Latin America, or Mexico, but and it's kind of interesting. I mean, Spain's real close to Portugal and all, and that's where one of the coolest European brick filming festivals is, the Cinebrick in Portugal.
Oh, right.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to go to that someday.
Yeah, get to a festival one day.
I really like to go to Portugal again. Anyway, because I was like 3 when I went to Portugal last. I don't really remember it, and yeah, I want an excuse to go to Portugal again.
Yeah, that's going on right now, Cinebrick.
Well, it'll be in a few months. Yeah, you get right now. Right now it's time to enter your film in it.
Oh, great! Because I missed out on all of the before because I just forgot, so I can actually enter that.
And the cool thing about that one is I think it's like 2 or 3 years you can go back. So because my 2019 resume is not so great, I think I have some 2018 stuff. So unlike the Brick Stars or Brickfilmers Guild Film Festival,
right.
Which you have to do it from that year.
It allows you to go back.
You got a little bit more flexibility with that one.
Yeah.
And do they let you, or do they not let you submit films that you don't have all the rights to the content in?
I can't remember if that's the case. I'm not sure if they're picky about that. I'm not.
I mean, some people don't care because it's like, well, that's on you, if you want to release something like that. But, it doesn't matter to us.
Here's an example, like Brick Flicks, I think it was up in Raleigh, before they stopped doing it. I don't think you could do anything with IP. There was no Batman, or unless you got specific permission. I think
yeah.
David Pagano got permission to be able to play his, but because they played it in a real theater, they had to play by the rules, and you couldn't just be playing whatever in there. Otherwise, the theater could get in trouble. So I don't know what the status in Cinebrick is out in Portugal, but they did have to play by the rules in Raleigh at Brickflix.
Yeah, I'm sure it says in their rules, though, and we post all of those. So
yeah, if anybody needs to figure out where that is, at the bottom of the front homepage of the Brickfilmers Guild is a upcoming events, and anything that you'd want to enter in contest and events are there, and you just click on it, it'll take you to whatever page. We could probably even ask Sean a few questions here in the meantime.
Go to his
because we did talk
videos.
About a few. I liked that one you did recently. I think it was Breakout 2, and it had 2 aspects that are really, really interesting. The front was on nearly an all wide expanse. You did a great job with that because you didn't have studs to walk on, and you did a great job hiding your putty from that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Not to hype myself up too much, but if you want to see some nice animation that's not on studs and you don't see the tack, just wait for Taco Triple 2.
Oh yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that for sure. Did you use to put the paper on? Is that a couple of Nintendo NESs below it?
Yes, it is. And actually, you're the first person who's ever mentioned that. I put the picture up on Twitter, and I kind of wondered if anybody would notice that. But yeah,
it looked like 2 of them. It's
on 2 NES consoles.
Oh man, that's like probably older than you.
Yeah, by a fair bit. Because they were just nice, large, flat objects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I needed this gap in between so that he could fall down.
Yeah.
So the pixelated section of that, those were like real Lego minifigures that you just made look. I mean,
processed.
You like really animated those and then made it look like they were pixelated?
Yeah, so it was a strange process where we had the frames, and my brother and I, we both drew the pixelated versions over the frames. And, I mean, we drew them in, like, tiny resolution and then blew it up. and blew it up in such a way that it retained the sharpness.
So you didn't use a processor to do that?
No.
Oh,
that was
wow.
all done by hand, frame by frame.
Oh, well, you put some work into that. I kind of envisioned you did something like, you've seen those tests I did with like the kaleidoscopes and all that stuff. Essentially, I was just screwing around with a webcam and running it through some weird software just that would do some special effects. And I was like, well, there's some kind of neat things you can do with this. I just imagine that's what you did, or you did it in the editor afterwards, but you basically were doing a lot of hand-drawn stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And
you didn't cheat.
The thing is, our original plan for the film was to actually do the same process, but out of 1x1 Lego bricks, representing each pixel. But I got about 2 or 3 frames in, and it was just taking far too long.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is on the last day. For all, we didn't really start until the last couple of days. So then we just decided we're never going to get this done. So we've got Plan B, which is to draw over every frame. But yeah, luckily it still came out as
it looked really
cool.
I didn't realize you even put that much work into it. So that's really awesome. And you did a similar video a couple of years before that. It's Brick Out, the first one, where you basically, I guess, made plates of your different looks of your character, I'm assuming, and you just traded the plates out, or were you pulling the plate off and then rearranging your Lego on it?
Yeah, the second way. It was, I just took the plate out every time and rearranged the 1x1 bricks.
So you didn't have like 20 different versions of that plate?
No.
Okay, so I actually had envisioned, so you did even more work there. I envisioned it was sort of, I'm guessing, like in the Bricks in Motion documentary, the elk that was animated. I'm assuming that elk probably had like 5 or 15 different versions of it that they just traded the elk out to make it walk.
Yeah, I think they did. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess I just do everything the hard way.
No, that's all right. As long as it comes out right.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
That's cool. It kind of has made me think about possibly doing a little test experiment video where, take about 15 different plates of a character moving in different formations and just trade it out to see what you can do. And, cut out the moving them around, everything around every frame, and just to see what would work. I mean, you could even just take the 15 pictures and rearrange it in Dragon Frame too, I guess. But there's a lot of ways to do things, yeah. But I definitely like that other brick out. I like experimental brick films. I think they're kind of really interesting. You also did another experimental one, which you did your outside filming, your flower.
Yeah, yes. I think in 2017, after I released Parallel Panic, I kind of wasn't up to doing, another serious long brick film for a bit. So everything I did around then was just short, strange tests and experimental brick films.
As long as you keep dabbling at it, that's the kind of the important thing. And I will do something, and like Thax ruined me for a month. So
yeah, that always happens to me. It's like at least a month.
I don't even feel like cleaning the studio. I mean, I've got the thing set up with a little bit of green screen. It's still set up the way it was left. I haven't touched it at all. It's kind of funny, but yeah, that flower thing, it was cute. It was cute. I liked it.
And plus, it incorporated the real life, which I don't know why. I just always like having real life incorporated into brick films. I just think it's a cool effect. Now that
I've got a second, basically, stop motion rig, because you can have Dragon Frame them on 2 computers, and one of them's a laptop, one's a desktop. But I can take my laptop outside and even use my webcam and have fun. So I should do that. It'd be fun.
Yeah, it's worth a try, and it certainly makes you appreciate the people who can do it and keep it very consistent and very nice looking.
Yeah.
We were talking about Namchild earlier, and do you know, not through the hatch, but down the hatch? Well, it's an unfinished film that Namchild made, but he released like maybe 6 clips from it.
Did it have a mech?
It might have at some point.
I think I remember that. Yeah.
He's basically a wizard. He could just do anything, and it comes out looking unbelievable.
That's
Yeah.
true.
And
He's
the
definitely-
outdoor work he did in that, with vehicles on sand, and the lighting is consistent. I just have no idea how he did it.
Mm-hmm.
When we were watching, or I was watching the duel this morning, because you always have to rewatch things to refresh your memory. It's just so impressive, all the details that he puts into everything. The capes that are blowing in the wind, and that when the guy steps off the desk and there's like a footprint left on. I look at this stuff, and he even has, like, with the fighting, how he's flying in the air reminds me of kind of a Keshin-esque type feel. I love making people's names into either adjectives or verbs, but the whole thing was just so brilliantly done. Every little detail that you don't think about, and it's like, wow. And even though I know how it's done, I was like, how does he do that? It just blows me away.
There's some people who, they're just so, I don't know how, certain people are just so good at everything they do. Like him, and also Mr. Mullock, who made Major Malfunction.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Mullock also made a bunch of Source Filmmaker videos that are in the, like, Source Filmmaker community. They're revered. They have like 7 million views
Oh, wow.
each.
Wow.
And he did like paper flipbook animations that are really good. And there's just some people who just seem to be able to do whatever they want, and it just comes out really good every time.
You have to kind of be in that sort of mentality of just be kind of like willing to just do anything, regardless of how like impossible it sounds. I think that's must be what they kind of do. They must be sort of aware of how like complicated and crazy some of these ideas are, but just sort of like just have that sheer determination just to do it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. No, I was thinking you almost have to, almost like an actor, you have to put yourself into that person or persona, like Keshin. It's almost like, wow, is he like a secret agent, where he knows, you look around the corner and you see this and throwing a knife. It's like, it's so realistic. You feel like you're watching a real person doing that. It's like, how are you able to put yourself into that situation where you know how it feels and how it, I don't know. It just, the whole thing just blows me away so much, It just takes it to a different level of putting yourself into that position of knowing how it's going to move and how it, you know what I mean? Blows me away.
William, did you have any part of the Finish the Story Brickfilm Day collaboration?
Yes, I did actually, for the Easter contest.
Was it Easter or was it a Christmas one? This is
No,
this is when Sean did the second scene in. I know for sure.
Yeah, I was at the Christmas one.
Yeah, the Easter one, I did. There was a segment where he gets thrown into this like palace with like a chicken is on the throne, and he starts to have a fight with a chicken. I don't know if that rings any bells.
Okay, I maybe I misread the Brickfilms wiki. It's 2019. It was a Finish Your Story. Was there like an Easter Finish Your Story and a Christmas Finish Your Story?
Yeah, it was the Easter special.
So there's two of them. Okay.
It's
Cool.
the Easter one where it turns out that the guy is addicted to drugs.
Okay. I might have missed that one, or I didn't link the right way. But I thought y'all both had actually done the Christmas one, and I was trying to find where William's part was. But he did an Easter one, and Sean, you did the Christmas one. And that second scene, that was some beautiful animation where he sticks his hand in the pocket. I like that technique. I'm gonna have to steal that.
Oh yeah. It was funny, actually. I did that at like the last minute. I had a deadline for that, and they were asking me like, "How's it coming along?" And I was just like, "I'll do it now."
And did they do the mouths?
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
And that was, I did that at such the last minute that the set is just the history of Brickfilms set. I just shot it in such a way that all you really see is 10 bricks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you did a beautiful job on that shot. That little bit of 6-8 seconds of animation at most. It's some really beautiful work you did there.
It's kind of funny because the prompt they gave was, they said do about 7 seconds or like 5 to 7 seconds. That's what I did. But then everyone else did like 30 seconds. So then watching the finished film, I was kind of like, oh, I'm barely in this compared to everyone else.
Well, it was actually really well put together. I was impressed with that, and I need to go back and find the Easter one. I probably saw it when it came out, but it's not fresh on my memory, old man memory.
By the time that I kind of like had my segment, the Easter one, it was like it had gone so off the rails that I was kind of aware that I could just do any old like crazy thing that I wanted, and hence he has a fight with a man in a chicken suit, basically.
The way the last person wrapped that one up, it was so good. You know,
yeah.
You might think that a video going off the rails like that is just kind of going to be random for the sake of it, but then it worked in the end. I couldn't believe how well it
They managed to find like pretty much the only way that any of it could make any sense, and it does. So, yeah.
Cool.
But not just to make sense of it, but also that it, you know, it feels like it has an impact at the end.
Yeah.
Here, let me just jump off topic for a second, because we were listening to your podcast with Forrest, and I love the part, William, where you said, because I totally agree, and I've always said this, that you should never delete any of your old brick films, because it's wonderful to see the progression through the years. There's always improvement, and it's just really fun to see, oh, look at that, and look where I've come since then, even like with Forrest, his stuff especially. But I see people now, they're getting irritated with the whole YouTube thing, and they're deleting their videos or making them private. Don't do that, people. Please, don't delete your videos. Don't make them private. Be proud of what you've done. Keep it there, because people are always going to find them and appreciate them, and you just never know when you're going to need them again. It makes me think
have a little
and
different.
Also, you're not going to get sued.
No, exactly. Those you have to be careful with.
For me, I kind of feel like, really, every brick film you make, like, well, I think anything you make, any content you make, especially when you're like, you know, you're starting out, you had a sense of pride, and you know, you felt proud of that film, and even if you look back at it now and you kind of feel like, yeah, you know, this is not as good as the stuff I do now, you should appreciate that helps you get to where you are now. And I feel like seeing that journey, that's something that you should never take away. I definitely believe that. I always, for as long as it is possible, as long as YouTube exists, as long as my channel exists, I want people to be able to see as far back as they can of my stuff. I mean, if you look back far enough, you'll even see that my first films weren't even actually brick films. I actually did a series of stop motion films which were with stuffed animals or teddy bears.
I watched a few of those. They're cute.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was like it was a retelling of A Christmas Carol, and I don't know if you know Joshua Nelson. But he told me the other day that him and his brothers, they watched them every year.
When I first started dabbling with video, and even before stop motion, I think we used some action figures in front of like a computer screen and shook them up and down and made them talk, and was playing with my son to figuring out how to do some interesting stuff with for video. There's even one on our channel called Ninja Robot. I know that's not stop motion. That's me just shaking a transformer in front of the screen, and I think there's another one called Danielle and Chank, which is kind of an interesting story about a little girl and her horse and some K-pop music.
It's just even if you like move on, a lot of the kids they go to college and they start doing other things and they don't do stop motion anymore. Still keep your stop motion on there, because it is just. It's fun to see. It's even fun to hear the voices. Like our daughter, she loves, and we love hearing her voice when she was 3 making these videos. It's so cute.
Yeah.
You remember, he used to be one of my favorites, Stonebreakers 10. Do you remember him?
Oh, yeah.
Matt Guidance. I loved his style and his stop motion videos. He stopped doing that a long time ago, and I don't even think he has them on his channel.
I think he does.
I miss them.
He's got a bunch of them are unlisted, but a lot of them are still there.
Yeah. Don't make them private, but unlisting them and then sticking them in a playlist. That way it doesn't clutter up your actual playlist.
But you can still see them and watch them.
All your videos, but you can, they're kind of segregated to the side. It's like, okay, these are the ones that I'm not so proud of, but you still have access. Unlisted.
I mean, there are a few films that, like the very first ones, I think, like you mentioned earlier, that I actually started off with Mega Bloks, going even further from that, I actually, similar to what you were just saying then, I used to have like action figures and I used to like shake them around and stuff, and sort of, that was kind of like the very first films I did. And yeah, I mean, they're quite, I mean, some of the films I've made are pretty embarrassing, stuff that I haven't even put on YouTube, but I have like been considering just like uploading them unlisted and like putting in a playlist, maybe uploading them, like having them public like temporarily and then putting them in like unlisted later or something.
Yeah, as long as people have access to them, and
yeah,
they're always fun to look at. Even like with Forrest's old videos, even hearing his voice change, it's just an adorable progression. And it's,
I feel like when I started brick filming, I mean, like when I was like 14, but like it's kind of like that kind of age where obviously, you know, you stop playing with Lego and stuff, but you've still got that kind of child in you in a way, and I think that my sort of extension of my childhood was making these films. And to me, it's kind of like if I deleted those videos, it'd be like I'd be sort of removing a part of my childhood, you know. And it is, in a way, that kind of progression from my very first films to what I'm doing now. It's basically that evolution from playing with Lego to like making actual films, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's almost like why I wish they didn't have like a thumbs up and thumbs down, because, you know, when you're first starting or when you're young, anything that you do takes a lot of work, and you've put your heart and soul into it at that time. That to me always deserves a thumbs up, always. As far as I'm concerned, there's nothing that deserves a thumbs down. I mean, unless it's just somebody being nasty or saying rude things to people, but otherwise, anything is art.
If you don't like it,
and you've put work into
it.
Yeah.
But, you know, I definitely believe in, you know, positive critique. No, positive critiquing, you know, I've gotten better, and sometimes from the bad critiques, though, you know, someone saying this sucked because of this and whatever, and, you know, it'll inspire you, but I almost like to hear a critique that's done in try this, you know, I liked your video, but it would have been nice to see something, you know, like this. You know, just say it in a way that's not just snarky, and I like that.
That's kind of the thing, really. Like when I joined Bricks in Motion, I didn't really have much of an audience at all. Like, you know, like I had like maybe 20 subscribers, something like that, but I didn't really get much of a response from people, and I was kind of obsessed with views and that kind of stuff, and without having much of a response, I kind of had this idea in my head that, you know, I was making really great stuff, and I didn't really know, you know. And then so when I go into Bricks in Motion and I get kind of like the critique, I felt like I wasn't always like prepared for it, and for a while I felt kind of like I wasn't sure if I could take it kind of stuff. But like after a while of like listening to what they were saying and kind of realizing that they were only trying to help, I kind of tried to learn from what they were saying, and that is the only way that I actually sort of got to where I am now at all, really. It's basically just sort of like listening to the critique and, yeah, getting to, you know, to become good, you know.
Critiques have gotten a lot more constructive over the last 7-8 years. I know back in the day, there wasn't as many videos, and there were actually reviews.
Back like when I first started putting, you know, really early stuff on brickfilms.com, the critiques were incredible back then. Mm-hmm. You learned so much from just putting up a really crappy video.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I wish some of my critiques would have been a little nicer, but I still learned from it. I mean, one of them was basically, come on, this is a stop-motion website, and most of your video is basically mouths over a screen. You know, I was doing dialogue and a lot of stuff. It inspired me to try to animate my character more while I'm adding mouths. So instead of just throwing a mouth on top of something on a figure that's not doing anything, it did inspire me to improve my technique. And how long it takes me to do stuff, too. It took away from the writing aspect, where it was a lot easier to crank out a long video if your quality was crappy. So the writing was a little more, you could really go to town on it and not think of the limitations. But as you get better, you can't do it the old way, and you got to keep improving. And it, you know, something that, you know, I could make a Galactic Smugglers video that was 12 minutes long in a month, and now I'm happy to get it done in a year.
Yeah.
Or 2 years.
Or
Yeah,
2
years.
It's
right.
been a while, but part of it's because we're too lazy to get the script out. I have a script that's done, and it just needs the last proofread to get sent out. I've got a real good one coming, and my goal is to get it done this year. Yeah, right. But my goal is to get it done.
I think all Brickfilmers' goal is to get whatever they're working on done this year, whatever this year is.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that way you're not putting a year on it. Yeah, it's gonna this year. So whatever year you're listening to this, yeah, this year.
That is such a great quote.
The scary thing about that kind of stuff, though, is like, it feels like the other day that I was saying that, and it was January 2019, and I was kind of like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then suddenly it's like March, and then like, you know, you turn the corner and it's like summer, and it's like, I don't know, and now you're here now, and it's like, oh wait, like, where does the time go, you know?
Yeah, it's getting pretty scary.
And the older you get, it's just like, the years just seem like months, you know?
Oh, and then you add kids to that mix.
Months become weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Time used to move a lot slower when I was your age. And, yeah, it moves
It's
real quick
scary.
now.
It is.
Just yesterday I was in college, I think. Speaking of a good quote, I want to bring up a quote from one of Sean's videos. It's I guess his last current Benny and Lead Sticky Situation. I love the quote. It's like, I knew we should have never upgraded to a DSLR. That quote was so funny. It's like because basically, you know, that was the disgusting stain episode, and it was even more disgusting because of DSLR, and I loved it. I loved that. That was one of my favorite lines of like.
Yeah, while making that film, I actually noticed that there was a dead insect squished on the stain, which I found amusing. So I tried to get that visible in a close-up.
Oh my goodness! You know, I would have like I remember doing an Oyo video, and everything looks good in preview, and then you look at it in 1080, and you're like, oh crap, there's a hair there. You don't even see something. Yeah. So you know,
it's so annoying.
Yeah, you almost have to look every once in a while at the real picture, not the preview you're getting from Dragon Frame, to see if there's a hair, because sometimes it won't quite show it, and then when it's in 1080, you're like, holy crap, that is like so evident, and it's not fun to erase hairs.
Oh, we have hairs in many of our videos.
Mm-hmm.
Or the dust falls on the set as the shot goes on.
Oh yeah.
In the summer, like during like Brawl and stuff, sometimes you get like fleas and stuff like just flying onto sets. Like when it's because I remember, I think it was the summer of 2018, like when I was doing Busker's Opus, it was just so boiling hot, and suddenly I could just see this like thing flying around, and I was like, what on earth is that? And there's a flea.
See, honey, it gets hot in the UK.
Just not as hot as here, and not as long. You're not going to change my mind. I still want to live there.
I just recently dumped the Adobe Cloud, and the last podcast I produced or I edited using HitFilm Express, and the last fact, I still had access to Premiere, but I decided to just give it an experiment with it, and it did everything I needed it to do for that. I was doing green screening and masking, which I couldn't do hardly any good masking with my original software, Final Cut 7, but I was really impressed. Have you guys used HitFilm at all? Yeah,
I mean, I've been using HitFilm since 2017.
Mm-hmm.
I've only just now recently got HitFilm Pro because I got it in Humble Bundle
offer. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I managed to get like a huge like amount of stuff, and with that was the Pro, and I really enjoy it. It's I mean, Express is great on its own as a free software, and I think for anybody that's starting out, that you know that they want a decent editing software and they don't want to like spend a lot of money. I mean, HitFilm Express does pretty much everything that you'd want really on a basic film. I definitely recommend it to anyone that's starting out. And I mean, it's kind of one of those sort of things. It's like it's so user friendly that it's like there's no reason to like not stop using it.
Oh yeah. We're going to be loading the Pro version soon, and I'm really excited about. Basically, it seems like it's HitsFilm Express on steroids. Is what I'm taking. Just a lot more bells and whistles.
One thing I will say as well, which is a big plus, it's a really powerful software, but you don't need a powerful computer, because I have a 4GB RAM computer, and I've been trying stuff like, I did try Avid on the free version of Avid on my computer, and it just crashes every time I try and open it. And DaVinci as well, which is another really good software. It does work on my computer, but not very well. But HitFilm, you'd never have any problems at all on it.
Yeah, I was thoroughly surprised.
Whether you use the free version, or even if you do actually upgrade to the Pro version, you're still spending. You can't even compare the price and how much money you're saving.
I feel like I really ought to upgrade from GIMP and Vegas, but I've just been using them so long, and I know them so well that I kind of don't want to.
I think Vegas is probably all right. I mean, Michael Hickox uses that, and he does some cool stuff using it. I think he should get Dragonframe, but that's between him and his wallet.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
he does a great job with Vegas, so I don't think Vegas is, if you've got it, it works. I wouldn't mess with that. But GIMP is just so counterintuitive.
I think Vegas is bad in certain ways, but you kind of learn how to work around it.
Mm-hmm. I think Avid owns Pro Tools now.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they.
Yeah, I recently I got my old Pro Tools. I had an inbox, but it worked on like an old ancient iMac from like 2001, and its monitor died. So I found an old MacBook, just one of the little white ones, not a MacBook Pro, from like 2008 or 9, and was able to get it working on there. But when I was looking, the soft, because I had to find some right software, it's like, oh wow, Avid owns it now. That's weird. But back in the days, Avid back in the early '90s was a $75,000 system too.
Yeah,
it was crazy. I had a friend that left the business I worked for to go help sell Avid editing suites, and it was a different game back then. You were a real stud if you had like an array of like 2 or 4 gigabyte hard drives.
So in my university, we've got an entire editing suite, which is just full of Avid computers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually going to be doing a editing module this semester, so I'm going to be working on Avid quite a lot. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, actually.
What kind of degree are you getting?
A BA.
A BA in a film or production, or
yeah.
That's cool. Well,
just film in general. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're excited and proud that FX Home is actually our newest sponsor. So we're excited for Dave to start using all of their products and experiences, and share all of the pros and benefits that everyone will have from using both their free software and upgrading to their pro stuff. So we're really excited to share all of that.
Yeah, we've been real lucky to have some pretty cool sponsors on the website. Brick Stuff has been very generous with us, and I love their products.
Yeah, Brick Stuff is always generous. They have them at the Bricks Motion contests.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. We just I'd love to work out a deal with, not that I need another copy of Dragonframe. I wouldn't mind the keyboard, but I would actually like to have an upgraded Dragonframe with that wireless keyboard. But they don't seem interested at the moment, but perhaps one day. We want to say 2 of the top brickfilming websites are administrated from Georgia. So, go Georgia! The new Hollywood of the East.
Oh, how far are you from Rio Force?
I think he lives in South Georgia. I'm not sure exactly where he lives, but I think he's in college down there and somewhere south of Atlanta.
I'm going to assume is that
2 to 4 hours, 2 to 3
hours away?
2 to 3 hours tops, but maybe an hour and a half to 3 hours away. But Christopher Gearhart lives in town, and Adam Nyes lives in town. We actually had coffee with Adam about a year ago. He's real charming, and
we'll meet up with
Christopher. Definitely want to meet up with both of them sometime, and I'd love to include if Rio Force comes up to Atlanta, I think it'd be fun to meet him in the process. And I think old Dude Brick lives near Auburn, Alabama, or so. The eastern side of Alabama, so he's probably only an hour and a half away from Atlanta himself at top. So
yeah, there aren't many brick filming any. What do you call those things? Conventions or whatever.
Yeah,
I think they'll work on it because there's a lot of people in Atlanta now, and it's a very convenient place for people to come and attend one of those things, and it would be great for us to get to hang out with all those people. There's
a small brick film fair in Atlanta, but I think the better one's in Birmingham, which is not worth the drive for me, but
it would just be nice if more people came here, or at least had a reason to come here and visit.
Mm-hmm. Hey, well, do we want to take this opportunity to move over to the Brick Film Showcase?
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea, actually. Yeah.
I think we've got a lot of stuff we've talked about already. I think we've already got a good podcast on us. Let's do that. Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I don't mind if you want to.
Go ahead.
Oh, me? Mm-hmm. So the one we picked is from one of our newest members, but it was a film that I found a long time ago, and I just went crazy about. It's Apocalypse Lego. It's by Vergio 1228, and it's a pretty gory, violent brick film. Lots of killing, but it's
has the most beautiful snow.
And I'm curious. You've watched this? Do you have any idea what he made the snow with? I'm thinking flour.
Probably.
I feel like I should know. I think he said it somewhere. But it looks like flour.
I mean, yeah, it looks like it, but it works for snow. And if you look at the sets aren't really crazy big builds. They're interesting sets with opening doors and things like that. But the snow and walking on the snow and all that, it really made the brick film for me. Plus,
the wiki tells me it was cane sugar.
Cane sugar. Okay, tasty.
That's funny, doesn't it?
But yeah, it certainly has a large, floor size of the set.
Oh yeah.
Unlike what you usually see, the size of the entire layout is expansive.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to look at that again. It almost doesn't look like sugar. It looks more.
Well, no, this is the powder sugar.
Oh, powder sugar. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. I imagine if you don't get that cleaned up too well, you might have some bug problems.
Or cats.
Yeah, cats, yeah. A few of the scenes that stood out for me in that, I like the part in the elevator. He also used one of my favorite gimmicks as a brick filmer, the classic butt scratch.
He literally laughed out loud when he saw that. And Dave tries to put that in as many things as he can. That's like his favorite gimmick. Yeah. The butt scratch.
And then near the end, there's a guy that frowns, and the animator used clay to make his eyebrows seem like frowning eyebrows, and I thought that worked really well.
I was really surprised when I made a wiki page on the creator of this film to find out that he was the same guy who made a brick film on YouTube it's called Bloody Lego Fight Scene, Greatest Lego Fight Scene Ever, which is a great title.
Yeah.
And from 2006, and I just remember, in 07, it was one of those films that was always in the related of any brick film, and everyone knew it.
Yeah.
But also it's the only film on the channel that uploaded it, so you switched channels after that for some reason.
Yeah.
It's kind of like really forgotten now. Yeah. It doesn't really hold up over time, I guess, but I just remember that from back then and how big it was for a brief moment.
Now I'm going to have to look it up because now I'm curious, if only to see the title. That's funny.
Yeah, and he actually, we spoke a little bit actually using Facebook. That was the Facebook situation, but he shared a rough draft of his newest video, and it looks really good. I watched it with the volume off because I didn't want to spoil it too much, but I'm excited about it. Hopefully it'll be coming out soon. Anything else you want to say about that particular video?
In relation to the upcoming one thing I also noticed, and I'm kind of talking about everything but the film, which sometimes happens, but he makes the films in the same series as Apocalypse Lego Frozen Terror, but calls the series FT, which to me seems like you're robbing yourself of attention for your films by not using the recognizable Frozen Terror name.
Yeah.
True, yeah.
This reminds me a lot, because I hadn't actually seen this book from before, of that film from a couple of years ago that was I See Dead People. I don't know if that is at all...
Oh, I remember that one. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Was that Oni Cress?
That's exactly who it is. One Cress or Only Cress, yeah. It was one of my favorites in the Brickfilmers Guild festival last year. It wasn't everyone else's, but it was. I mean, other people liked it, but I mean, it didn't win. But it was one of my favorites. I love that one.
But yeah, in relation to the film Apocalypse Lego, it has that kind of classic sort of 2000s brick film kind of action sort of film. Like a lot of the stuff that Penta has sort of like talked about in the showcase in the past, it kind of reminds you of that kind of thing. It actually kind of feels a bit like one of those sort of brick films from like the mid 2000s, even though it's from like 2009. But I mean that in a good way. It has that kind of like nostalgic action sort of brick film feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really like the look of the snow. It has a really nice kind of effect. It does look really kind of, it's really looks really realistic. The way it.
Yeah.
And the way it's shot and everything, the set seems quite expansive, because you just feels like a real world, And
yeah.
I really like the lighting and stuff. It was in the like interior scenes as well. I like all the kind of like the red lights and stuff, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, actually, a lot of the lighting in the indoor bits is really nice, kind of like dark and kind of like a bluish kind of color.
Yeah. There was one point where a grenade was thrown inside of a building, so it goes from like this white outside to this little dingy like quarters, and you see this grenade drop in, and you're like, I was hoping to see the explosion, and it's just kind of the explosion's off camera with the characters running away from the building, but yeah, I like that shot. You want to move to the next one? Our dogs are acting a little crazy.
Yeah. Should I go for my pick?
Yeah. I
go ahead.
loved your pick.
Cool, yeah. So this brick film I've wanted to actually talk about for quite a long time. It's kind of one of those sort of brick films which, I mean, I saw it back in 2017 when it first came out, and I remember really enjoying it. And it was kind of like one of those brick films that I think from the start of this podcast, of the One of Brickfilms podcast, I've wanted to get around to this at some point. But I kind of didn't, because I wanted to talk about like the older classic brick films first. And I'd sort of forgotten about this for a while till now. I suddenly remembered it. And so it's The Interview, which is a 2017 brick film by Max Hart Sean Films. It's kind of got like this sort of Black Mirror-esque kind of feel to it. Yeah, I just really like the style of it. It's actually quite a slow-paced film, but that's actually one of the aspects I enjoy the most out of it, because it really has that kind of, it builds up that atmosphere, and I really like the set design. It's very kind of like simplistic, but it feels very like the rooms and everything are very kind of big and wide, and it really makes the character seem kind of like isolated, and it makes it kind of, it has that kind of like uneasy kind of feeling.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
Yeah.
There were even some ceiling shots in there, Sean.
And the lift shots were certainly great for being vertical.
The world's most dangerous lift. Keep your hands inside the...
Yeah, and I don't like elevators, so that was kind of freaky to me. So.
But it really does go to show how you can make distinctive set designs, but you don't need super detailed, crazy builds. You can make sets that help tell the story with basic bricks if you just do it well.
Yeah, there is kind of, it was very much a creative decision to make it kind of simplistic, and it really works for the film. But one of the details I really like, with the like entrance, you can see like the window like outside it, and you can actually see that it's actually really quite expansive outside. It's a lot of detail that's gone in, like that you can see like trees and stuff. It just feels like there's a real world outside. I don't know if you saw that
Yeah.
I actually missed it. I'll have to go back. I think my favorite part was when the glass at the beginning fell on the floor and broke, and I actually had to ask Dave. I was like, "What did he use? Because they're so small." And it looked really good. And then, of course, the cute little Roomba that comes out and vacuums it up.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a really neat effect because they were so small. I said, what did you say? You probably broke one of those actual
maybe
things into little pieces?
Yeah, it looks like broken Lego to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But this is one of those films where it really shows how useful the Brickfilmers Guild Film Festival is, because that's where I saw this film first, from the
I think so. Yeah.
And I don't think that the creator has ever been involved in the community. And I'm pretty sure he hasn't done anything since this film either.
I think that's it, yeah. That's that last time.
But of course, it benefits from that kind of vibe of somebody who's not so entrenched in the community, where a lot of the techniques used, they're a little bit off, compared to how we all generally do things.
Like the walk cycle and stuff like that.
Yeah, or breaking the Lego to make the broken glass. Things that stand out to us that we think are really neat, but we probably wouldn't think to do because they go against kind of the done thing.
Yeah, I get that. It's like not going with the kind of what everybody associate, the sort of the standard type stuff. And that's kind of sometimes, like, I feel you have to get people outside of the community to inspire other people to actually do innovative stuff sometimes. It's a bit like that, kind
Sometimes
of like the Lego Movie, kind of how it inspired people to do different stuff.
But of course, there are some people who are just so creative that they, even if they're in the community, they just do it anyway, like Pong Owl.
I mean, I try and add a couple of things which I don't usually see in Brickfilms sometimes as well. It's just kind of fun to just create new things.
I love those kind of details like that. I think it's cool.
Another one of the details I really loved is when the speaker made noise and the telephone rang and how it would shake a little bit. And it gave like character to these inanimate objects, and I really dug that. And also the brick built laser effect. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, the phone was another one that was kind of like something you wouldn't expect us community members to do, where just the entire brick shakes around. I really liked that.
Yeah. Just got to think outside the box.
Outside the block.
There you go. That'd be a good name for a podcast, Outside the Block.
This film really sounded great. Its original music and the voice acting sounded great as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, actually, that's one of the things I only noticed this time around. The music, especially like near the end, it reminded me of like Sega games from the 90s. Yeah, I really love the music.
It's like a John Carpenter soundtrack.
Yeah.
Escape from New York.
And the fact that the director did the music himself, kind of reminiscent of that vibe.
Yeah. I didn't, of course, we didn't acknowledge the original soundtrack years ago, and thanks to you, you're the inspiration to have us change that. So you've been highly helpful for making the Brickfilmers Guild Film Festival a better film festival.
Yeah, we're always open to suggestions, things that we should take away or add or change, anything to make it better for everyone, and especially for those that are nice enough to help judge, as welcome information.
I'm good with Max Hartshorn's films video. Do we have enough time to talk about the last one?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, so my pick, sometimes it's funny how we accidentally pick things that are similar to each other sometimes, and this is another case like that, where it's another film with a very sort of clean, clinical look, and it's Virus by Fred Mangan, who I believe is actually Irish, which is unusual, and of course I gotta mention that. But so Virus is a brick film without minifigures, which another thing we always gotta mention. Sometimes I kind of joke that it's a good way to boost yourself in the results of a contest. Do a non-minifig film. But of course it has to be a good film on top of that.
True.
But Virus is a brick film about a computer virus, or it takes place inside the computer, which is an interesting perspective. And the virus goes around in these very interesting looking sets. And wreaking havoc, of course, as it would. And the film contains some very, very well done digital effects integrated into it to create the vast corridors.
Yeah, those are really neat effects.
Other details. And of course, great use of colour. Something that we've mentioned before, in that there's a lot of greys and whites, but so everything that has colour stands out very well.
True.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you had a little bit of romance in there as well, which I loved.
So I guess the protagonist is really the bad guy, huh?
Well, not from his perspective.
I was rooting for Team Blue.
Yeah, me too.
The evil eyeball was scary.
That's true. I guess that's the antivirus software.
Yeah.
Oh, that's always how I've always perceived it as, you know, they are the antivirus software and they're getting rid of the virus.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what I always assumed it was. But yeah, like the eye is.
Oh yeah, the eye is the virus. Okay, I guess I'm just stupid.
Well, it could be either way. I could see it both ways, because if you think about, you know, at the end, what happens is, you know, Team Blue. So, you know, the computer's not the same afterwards.
That's true.
I don't know. Another thing I noticed about this is only 480p.
So really? Wow.
Yeah, it is the
it
clearest.
It
is the clearest for it. Yeah, I tried to click up the resolution, and it was like, oh, that's as high as it goes, and it's like the clearest 480 I have ever seen. I mean, it's a little fuzzy, but 480.
I think it must be because it's so bright.
Yeah.
That definitely helps.
True. It's like YouTube's not for dark shots. It doesn't work very well, but like bright. Well, as I said before, it's like the brightness, like that can kind of trick you into believing that the quality's better than it actually is.
This film might be around on Vimeo in 720. I'm not sure.
I'll have to look for it. Yeah, cool.
But yeah, I really love the eye. I remember the first time I saw it, I find it it is kind of creepy. It's, you know, it's kind of scary.
I like the claws, the tentacle claws. I like those.
So that had to be his eye, I'm assuming. Wouldn't you think?
Maybe. Got an eye actor involved.
But yeah, there was a lot of really beautiful scenes in that.
And of course, another bit of a theme we have going here is that, again, this is a film made by somebody who's not involved with the community.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Quite different.
Yeah, when I found this video, I swear, I think it only had from 500 to 700 views, and if I'm not incorrect, it's well over 100,000 right now. So, yeah, someone discovered it after I found it, and I didn't find it right away. I think it was 2 or 3 years old when I found it.
Yeah. I mean, I can't remember it having that many views.
Yeah.
I remember it being kind of like one of these, like, I found like I discovered, like, this, like, not... Yeah. This Brickfilm wasn't well known. Yeah. But now it's like, yeah, I'm really pleased to see it. It's got quite a nice amount of views.
Yeah.
Well,
that's probably all I have to say about that. But I don't want. I do want to mention one thing, kind of thoroughly off subject. But thanks to this podcast, I have finally learned to type an accent over an A without having to search through the emoji and symbols on a Mac. I probably can't do it on a PC, but I now know how to do it on a Mac. So it's you type SE and then you hit the Option E, and that'll put it in the A over next, and it'll put it over the A, and then the N, so now I can spell your name correctly without having to dig around.
On a PC, all you have to do is hold Alt-Gear, which is beside the space bar, and then press a vowel.
Okay, because I do have to get on a PC every once in a while, but generally I'm on a Mac.
Okay.
Cool. But I'm glad I know how to do it, because, considering you're like a superstar in the community, I got to know how to spell your name quickly.
And properly.
And
I
William,
don't mind if you leave it off.
Okay, cool. But I did want to mention that before we let you go.
Yeah, and also really thank you both so much for judging and being such a huge help in the festival. Can't tell you how much we appreciate that.
Yeah.
And thanks for hosting it every year.
Oh,
it's extremely important.
Yeah, well, it's fun, and if you can get the ear of any of the Bricks in Motion folks, I would be happy to do any of the summer contests when it's not anywhere near January. You got me to judge one year for the summer contest, and that was fun. It's a good time for judging for me. If any of the Bricks in Motion folks want me to judge, it's okay if you don't want me to, but. that's a good time to judge. The bric-a-brac folks, I think they asked me to judge Brick Stars once. It's like, that's prime time for me. I can't go anywhere near a contest in January.
Christmas time,
and they get like twice as many entries. They kind of open up the door a little bit wider, but yeah, I would be happy to do a brawl or a summer contest sometime in the summer if anyone over at Bricks in Motion are interested.
And again, for those who are nice enough to help judge, or just anybody listening, if you ever have any suggestions on what you'd like to see us do or not do, we won't be offended either way, so please let us know, and we're happy to take everything into consideration and make things better for you.
Well, just thank you guys so much for just everything you do. I mean, we talk about like what you do a lot, like on our podcast, and I just think it's stuff like this is what we need to always just encourage within the community. The stuff like the discussion, all the stuff outside of just the actual brick filming, because that's what keeps the community alive. And I think what you do is fantastic.
Thank you. We love your podcast too, and to be honest, there's plenty of room for even more podcasts out there for brick filmers, because you put on a podcast and you're brick filming, you're gonna finish the podcast way before you're done brick filming.
Yeah, and
very true. Yeah,
it's never a competition. I mean, everything that everybody does just helps everybody. It's a win-win for everyone. So we don't ever see any of the websites or podcasts. None of it's competition. It's all, yes, another one of our family members is doing something to help the community. And that's exactly what everyone is doing. They're helping the community.
It's like a hand with five fingers, everything's doing stuff. It's awesome. It's better to have a whole hand than just one finger.
Yeah, the more the merrier. Just helps everybody out. So thank you guys for, coming onto for working with us on the time. It worked out perfectly for us, and
I think this will make a great crossover podcast for the both of us.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And people love the extra long podcast, so they'll have some good fun stuff to listen to while they're animating, right?
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to watching this one on William's channel, because he's got cool video in it. Ours is just a slideshow.
Yeah, definitely. I love seeing your videos. It was cool. Like even Forrest mentioned, that you show like the old ones with the new ones, and it's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I love it. It's like I know it takes a long time, but I think I really enjoy having that kind of part of it. Yeah,
we appreciate the effort.
Yeah,
just no Pokemon in it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks again, guys. You guys are awesome. And hopefully in a year or 2 or 3, maybe we'll have a good reason to come back and have another chat.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, we're here for you whenever you need us. So keep doing what you're doing. We love you guys.
Thank you. And same to you, of course.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right,
Bye-bye.
you guys take care. Bye.